Hello and welcome to Behind the Floppy Flag. In this video we're taking a look at this projection attachment that was sent to us by DigitalFoto. Here it is, it's called Snoot BM and it's a 36-degree standard Bowens-mount projection lens designed for fixtures up to 300 watts of power. It comes in this soft carry case that is mostly mesh fabric material with a foam insert. The lens fits very snugly inside and I'm sure will not suffer any damage if kept and transported in this case. Apart from the lens, we received this optional iris attachments. It's not supplied as standard, but was provided for us for this test as well. The iris attachment allows us to change the spread of the beam, make it a bit narrower if necessary. It's particularly useful since this lens is 36 degrees, so it's pretty wide, and sometimes if you can't place it close enough to your subject, you would need to use something like this iris to make the beam a bit smaller. There are several color filters supplied with the lens, if you want to adjust your color this way. There's a Gobos holder. The lens is supplied with 24 Gobos, their diameter is 65 mm, and there's a very good set of them. So there are very useful Cucalori style Gobos, then all sorts of windows and shutters, and some geometric shapes. Overall, this is a very good setup, nice to have with a product like this. Like I mentioned before, this thing fits very snugly inside. So much so that it's very hard to actually get it out. It was so fiddly getting it in and out of this case that we've actually decided to get rid of these little separators, just cut them down to make it fit in a little easier. And also to keep it upside down this way. This way it's much easier to get in and out, and it's still very snug and won't go anywhere. Here's what this projection attachment looks like. It has this little protection piece at the back, which helps to keep some dust off the optics inside. No cap on the front though. As you can see, it has a pretty substantial yoke, which is very nice. It has two of these locking knobs. In our use cases, we would mostly just use one of these lock-offs, and the other one is just there for safety, because usually one of these holds the lens in place with a light attach, plenty strong. One thing to note about this Yoke lock-offs is that they're all plastic. So the knobs themselves are plastic, this little ring is also plastic, and this attachment here as well. So the construction of the lens itself is all metal piece here, another one here, and the Yoke itself is also made out of metal, as well as this tripod connection piece. But the lock-offs are plastic, so should be handled with some care. If we take a look at this upper side, we see this little knob, and there's the same one down below. If I undo these knobs, I can rotate the actual Bowens attachment inside of the lens. This is useful because you can actually rotate the light fixture that you have inside. Or if you attach the lens to the fixture without the yoke, directly to the fixture, you can actually rotate the barrel of the lens itself. This is useful for rotating gobo patterns. But we found a different and a bit unexpected use for rotating the fixture, which we'll talk about later in the video. Going forward from that, we have these shutter blades. They help us to shape the light and create all kinds of shapes and light streaks that we want. In here we have this gobo holder slot, and this is where iris fits as well. And at the front is the focusing element. So this slides back and forth to adjust focus of the projection. Mind you, this last piece is made of plastic, unlike the rest of the lens that is all metal. And at the very front of the attachment we have this little knob that holds this attachment for square filters. One thing to note when working with these kinds of projection attachments is that they do not work very well with any kind of LED light fixture. Some light fixtures, like this Amaran 200X, have a very specific LED pattern on their surface. It looks something like this. And this kind of LED strips create unwanted bending in a projected image. This is not the problem of this particular unit, but rather a behavior of all projection attachments with this kind of LEDs. Mind you, newer LED lights have a different design. Usually they have some sort of a matte projection glass on top of the LEDs that helps to prevent this particular issue. This is where it becomes helpful to be able to turn the fixture like this inside of the projection attachment to sort of break this pattern, because it is particularly visible when the lines of this LED emitter repeat the lines of the projection you're making. These kinds of attachments get really hot, especially if you're using them at more powerful fixtures for extended periods of time, so always wear gloves. The yoke of the fixture is removable, and it allows the fixture to be mounted directly to the light. The benefit of this is that this allows you to rotate the barrel of the projection lens on the light fixture, changing orientation of your projection. This is a very convenient way to shape light and to rotate and orient your projection as you want it. Now let's see if this kind of projection attachment affects the output of the light. I'm using my Lumix S5 IIX here with light spot meter enabled, and I've rated the brightest part of our image to be at 0 stops. This means that if the image becomes brighter, the camera will show me by how many stops we gain or lose the light. Now let's see what kind of output we can get from a light fixture with no attachment at all. So as you can see, it shows minus 0.1. This means that the projection attachment doesn't affect the output at all. It's basically the same amount of light, it's just focused and concentrated on smaller area than when there is no attachment on the fixture at all. Now let's take a look at what we can get with the supplied reflector. Almost 1 stop. The fixture becomes brighter and we gain almost 1 full stop of light in this same spot. So projection attachment doesn't increase the output of the light at all, but also doesn't decrease it. So the optics is just there to focus and defocus, and it doesn't have any effect on the output of lights. Now, a few words about using this kind of an attachment in a real production world. I used to consider this kind of projection attachments as a very specialized tool that you only basically use for something like product photography, or when you're shooting something like a podcast and want to create a more interesting light shapes on your background, so making something dull and plain a little more interesting. But after having this lens for about a month and using it in various production environments, this has become one of my favorite tools for shaping background lights. It's so convenient to have these shutters which you can use to shape and form the light however you want and make it so that the light doesn't spill everywhere and doesn't fall on the subjects you don't want it to. Previously, you'd have to place a light, then place a cutter to its left, place a cutter to its right, and block the light in such a way that it doesn't spill where you don't want it to. While these shutters allow you to very easily and quickly control this spill and make it so that the light is very directional and falls only where you actually want it to. That's it for this video. Hope you found it useful. Please like and subscribe, and see you in the next one. Bye!